This is a Mage perspective on the Hodir fight in Ulduar. At the beginning of the fight, you will see there are 5 NPCs who are frozen in the room. Your first job is to remove them. The 25-man version is very similar to this, except there will be 10 NPCs to be removed. The first to be removed will be the Mage, who usually begins on the far right. He has a Melt Ice spell that will help you remove the others. So every time the NPCs get frozen, the Mage should be the first to be removed. This is always your priority, to get the NPCs out, because the NPCs provide the buffs which make this fight viable. Once the Mage is removed, you can go ahead and move on to removing the other NPCs from their blocks of ice. During this fight, you will get a stacking debuff that will cause increased damage. This debuff is removed for every second you spend in motion. Therefore, if you have 2 stacks, you will need to spend at least 2 seconds moving around to get those stacks off of you. If you don't do that, the stacks will eventually cause enough damage to kill you, or at least put great stress on your healers. So this is very much a fight about moving, or using the debuffs which allow you to prevent moving. As you can see, blue circles will appear on the ground if you make sure that your projected textures option is selected in your video options. When you see those circles, run out of them, because a icicle will fall and you'll be crushed. Occasionally there will be flash freezes, as you see there. When 2 large circles appear, you want to avoid them initially, because they will, as with the smaller circles, crush anyone who's in them. But once those icicles have fallen, a pile of snow will appear in those circles. You must immediately step onto those, or you will be frozen into ice blocks like your friends, the NPCs. So this fight is very much about avoiding the circles. When the flash freeze occurs, moving immediately, you only have 1 or 2 seconds to get up onto the snow piles before the flash freeze. If you're caught out in a flash freeze, you will be frozen solid, and then your fellow players will have to waste valuable time to get you out of that ice block, or risk having you killed if another flash freeze occurs while you are still in the ice block. After each flash freeze, your NPCs will frequently get frozen as well. You see a flash freeze happening there. Get out of the big circle or you'll be crushed. Get right back onto the big circle snow pile to avoid the flash freeze. When the flash freeze is over, immediately get the NPCs out of their ice blocks, and then go on to DPSing Hodir. Now, the NPCs provide various buffs which make this fight doable. One of them is a spell power debuff, which moves from person to person. There's not too much you can do to get that. You can see that there's sort of lightning on me right now. More important is the fire that I'm standing next to, that the fire mage puts down. While standing next to that fire, you do not get the stacking debuff, and therefore you can stay in one place to cast. As a mage, the ability to stay in one place and cast and chain cast is a huge boon to your DPS, and therefore you should always be seeking out those fires so you can stand and cast. Also, when you're standing next to the fire, your spells will do extra fire damage to Hodir, as well as put a stacking spell vulnerability debuff on him. So after the flash freezes, you see there, immediately get your mage out. It's very good to put a symbol on top of his head so it's easy to find which one he is. Get him out so he can get the others out of their ice blocks and put down a fire. Stand next to that fire, get the others out of their blocks, and then work on Hodir, making sure a circle appears on top of that fire, you get away from it. There are also beams of light. These will increase cast speed by a great deal when you're in them. So if you can't get into a fire, or you have to run away from a fire because it's suddenly an icicle circle, you should run toward one of those beams of light, cast some spells in that, and then get back to your fire. The beams of light are very tempting because they do increase cast speed. However, for Mage, because of our long cast times, it is much preferable to just get next to a fire so you can stand there and cast, rather than stand in the beams of light, where you'll be getting the stacking debuff. Throughout the fight, you can use a fairly high DPS rotation for arcane blasts to an arcane missile, because you'll be running around enough that you won't be able to truly chain cast, and therefore mana issue shouldn't be a gigantic issue. So it's simply a matter of moving from spot to spot, making sure you're always getting on those piles of snow, freeing the NPCs and standing next to a fire, and chaining the spells as much as possible until you reach 1%, Hodir becomes green, and you have won the fight.